And welcome to another edition of the Vic State Cricket Podcast. I'm Adam White. Plenty to get through today. Our special guest, Jason Backer, as we go for a trip down memory lane. So much to talk to Jason about. Not only did he play for Victoria, but he manages the Australian coach at the moment, also one of the Victorian players, and Cadell Evans. So administration, player management, and also playing for Victoria in one of Victoria's most successful periods, particularly when we talk about some of the biggest names in Victorian cricket through the 90s. So Jason Backer to come, but my co-host for the next 15 minutes or so is Todd Murphy. Todd, welcome.
Thank you, Whitey. Thanks for having me.
Now, it's good to get you back in Victorian colours this week, but we're keen to have a chat to you about your experience with the Prime Minister's 11. What was it like to play against a Test nation a week out from the Test match?
Yeah, it was a really cool week going to Canberra, and even some of the off-field stuff that I hadn't sort of seen before with being the PM's 11. You sort of had a Prime Minister's function, and doing that sort of stuff is probably something I haven't been done a lot of before. So to see that side of, I suppose, cricket was quite interesting. And then, to play against a Test nation when they're gearing up to play a really important Test series for them was really good to be a part of, and I think I got a lot out of it.
What are some of the things you did get out of it?
I think just be able to bowl some long spells was really good, and against some high-quality players. For myself, anyway, just to be able to get some confidence and know what I'm doing, that I'm on the right track, and there are some things there that are working. So, just to keep backing that in, and it can stand up against those sort of players.
You've now played for Australia A. It's been a bit of a whirlwind sort of period for you, Australia A, now the Prime Minister's 11. Just being amongst those players that are the next cab off the rank, what's it like? You know, Renshaw got 100, Marcus got runs, Pete got runs in both innings. It's that sort of that next group coming through that are all keen to play for Australia, but they're all really good players in their own right.
Yeah, it's quite strange, I suppose, from my point of view, because I'm sort of there feeling my own way sort of through my career, and then those guys are really well established, and I think they understand their games really well, and they're all in really good places at the moment and confident with what they're doing. So to be around that, I suppose it's quite a relaxing environment, and those guys sort of rub off on you that just sort of believe in what you're doing and trust that because you're there for a reason. And it was really good to see some high quality cricket across the week, and some of the boys batted really well, Pete and Harry in particular, and then just to be able to be out in the field and bowl with Ash Agar and just have conversations around spin bowling with him and that sort of stuff. I think when you get the opportunity to do that, that's when the learning happens. So you can bowl a lot in the nets and that sort of stuff, but to be out in the middle and testing it against international players and be able to learn on the go, I think that's the best way to do it. So
watching Marcus and Pete, are they exactly the same if they're playing for the Prime Minister's 11 to Victoria? Do they do anything differently, or does it? And watching them, observing them, does it make it feel easier for you?
I think Pete, the only difference is he doesn't have the responsibility of being captain, I suppose, and worrying about sort of 10 other guys, where there he can sort of just focus on himself and what he wants to get out of it. But I think, the way they approach their training pre-game and then morning of games, and that is exactly the same as here, which for me, I suppose, is really, really good as well, because then I know that I don't need to do anything different when I'm there, and you don't need to try and impress people by training a certain way and that sort of stuff, and just go back to what you do here, and nothing changes when you get there. So we're going to actually hear from both Campbell Callaway and Sam Elliott shortly, just from the MCG experience, because they had a great time making their debuts while you're up in Canberra. But for you, going to that next step, it's almost an audit on your own game as to where you're at. You did extremely well in the first innings, particularly. How did you feel you bowled, and what was that experience like? Yeah, I think being able to get into the game quite early in the first innings and bowl a long spell was really good for me, because I was quite nervous going into the game. So, to get into the contest there and be able to bowl a good spell and just get into the game and sort of feel like I belong there was probably the best part for me. And then from there, once you get into the contest, I suppose it just goes back to normal cricket, and you're trying to find a way to outlast the opposition and beat them. So it doesn't matter if you're playing what sort of cricket you're playing, it's sort of all the same there. So, just to be able to do that and, build on that was really good. And the pink ball, is that the first time in a senior match, a men's match, where you've actually bowled with it before, and even bowling under lights? Yeah, definitely. That's the first proper day-night game I've been a part of. So I did a session here before I went, just with a pink ball to get a bit of a feel for it. But I think, throughout the sort of duration of the game, it goes through a few phases where at the start the ball's really hard and sits quite nicely in the hand, but with the wicket being quite flat in Canberra, the ball went quite soft quite early. So that was sort of another challenge, just to try and find a way to get something out of that off the wicket. And that, I think, was just all about changing pace and sort of seam positions to just try and find what worked out there, because the ball did go quite soft quite early. So that was a challenge in itself.
So wickets in the first innings, really good economy rate again in the second innings. Was it a tick for the experience? You happy with how you bowled?
Yeah, I think I definitely was happy with how it went. Obviously, it would have been really nice to try and contribute to a day 4 win. As a spinner, you sort of, that's partly your role, is to be able to help the side win a game on day 4. So it would have been nice to be able to take a couple of wickets on day 4 and win the game. But I think when you look back at it, I don't really feel like I bowled any worse in the second innings than I did in the first innings. So sometimes you can just have that little bit of luck that goes your way, and you get a couple of wickets. And then in the second innings, and partly I suppose those guys got a bit of a read on me in the first innings, and they probably didn't know what to expect coming into the game, because they wouldn't have seen much on me. So from there, they probably looked to play me a little bit differently in the second innings. So yeah, I think from my point of view, I was really happy with how it went. But it would have been lovely to be able to top it off with a couple of wickets on the final day.
Now, before we get on to Victoria, how are you coping with the extra attention? Because you've only played a handful of first-class matches as it is, and you're doing extremely well, and now all of a sudden being elevated. But now that comes the interest in you, the headlines, the interviews. Are you going to play for Australia? You're Nathan Lyon's understudy, all those sorts of things. How are you coping with that extra attention?
Yeah, it's different, and I suppose it's interesting in a way that it is really nice to be sort of compared to Nathan in that sort of sentence. But I also know that we've got like a lot of differences in the way we bowl as well, and it's probably unrealistic for people to think that the next person that comes in, whether it be me or someone else, that's going to be able to do as good a job as he's done, because he's been unbelievable for Australian cricket. So yeah, there's a bit more extra, I suppose, attention at the moment. But yeah, I try and not read too much into it. And as you said, I'm still trying to find my way at first-class cricket. So I just try and focus on that and enjoy cricket for what it is, and let the other stuff take care of itself. And if I'm doing well, then hopefully that does happen. But yeah, I think enjoy it first and foremost, and then let the other stuff play out. All
right, let's focus on Victorian cricket, because the boys, they didn't play badly. They got sent in on a really tough pitch on day 1. They got skittled for 121, but fought their way through the whole time, right up until day 4. What were your observations watching from afar when you could? Obviously, you're playing at a similar time, but you would have seen bits and pieces.
Yeah, I think every day I was able to sort of watch the morning sessions. And yeah, just like from watching it from afar, you sort of got quite a good indication that losing the toss and getting sent in wasn't ideal on morning of day 1 when you're watching on the broadcast. The wicket was green and looked like it was quite tough
work.
Looked
like your hoodie.
Yeah, it was quite tough work. So it's one of those ones that the boys, I suppose, have been a little bit disappointed they couldn't find a way to fight through and try and get sort of around 180, 200, and that way you're always going to be right in the game. But I think the position they were in, to fight as hard as they did, to push the game to day 4 and be a live chance of winning the game is a credit to everyone involved there. And I think it goes back to there's still a lot of belief in everyone in the squad that guys that can come in are going to be able to play a role and help contribute to wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really exciting on day 1 to see both Campbell and also Sam get their caps. Greg Shipperd presented to Campbell Kellaway, and then we had obviously Matthew with Sam. It was really quite emotional and really quite special to see that. And then they both performed. So here is both Sam and also Campbell. We caught up with both of them together, because on that first day, Campbell got to bat in those really difficult conditions, and Sam got a couple of wickets on that opening day. What was that experience like to have your family there, Greg Shipperd giving you your hat? Looks nice and new. What was that like?
Thanks, Whitey. Yeah, it was a pretty cool experience. I was getting goosebumps while Shippy was talking there for a little bit, just to be standing out on the G. Yeah, family, my mum and my brother standing close by, and yeah, Shippy. I've had a bit to do with him over the years, so to have him present my cap was something that was pretty cool.
What about you, Sam? You had your dad out there who knows what it's like to play at the MCG. You know what it's like to be around the MCG, getting that hat.
Yeah, it's like Campbell said. It's always tough. Dad had a pretty tough gig. Shippy presented first, so always hard speaking after Yoda. So, but yeah, pretty special. I think first time I've probably seen Dad tear up. So that probably puts emphasis on how special a moment it was for not only me but my family as well.
You've played white ball cricket for Victoria, but to be wearing the whites and the famous navy blue hat with the Cricket Victoria insignia on it, how special is it for you and for your family?
Yeah, I think it's something that might have come across like a long time coming sort of thing, but I think the way my family supported me all throughout, we've moved around a lot. Obviously, Dad played in Adelaide, we lived there, moved to Bendigo, and now back to Melbourne. So, I feel like I've been progressing pretty nicely and I've done an apprenticeship, so to say. So, yeah, feels.
Now, Campbell, it was great to get the hat, and then you've got to go out and bat on a green monster with Peter Siddle and Jackson Bird coming in at you. What was that like, your initiation to first-class cricket?
Yeah, they bowled pretty well today. The wicket was offering a little bit early, so I think probably made it a bit more simple in a way, just trying to work hard and play late and play as straight as possible. So, yeah, if you got a good ball, you got a good ball, but just trying to bat a long time was more the conversations us batters were having out in the middle.
Is it as hard as it's been for you to get runs?
It was a bit of moisture in the wicket early, but I love a good challenge, and it was something different, a bit different to batting on the Albert every Saturday, so it was good fun.
And what about here at the MCG, your debut, massive stadium, you're out there in the middle. Did you have to pinch yourself a couple of times?
I was lucky enough to play one second 11 game last year, so at least that I'd gotten used to it a little bit out there, but to be out there playing with the big boys was something pretty cool, and there was a few moments where I just had to make sure I took a deep breath.
Now, what about you? You got a wicket late in the day. You got 2 wickets late in the day, and you're second over. What was that like?
Yeah, it was pretty special, I think. Being able to get a wicket on the MCG, number one, but be able to get a wicket in your second over in a Shield game, doesn't get much of a better feeling than that.
You had one of your best mates taking the catch.
Yeah, I had Salo taking the catch, which is nice. We've known each other since we were 10 years old, so it's pretty special.
So just a bit on Campbell. You might like bowling to him, being a left-hander, get spinning the ball away from him, but what have you seen that's impressed you in the short time he's been in the group?
I think it's been well documented from a lot of guys that have spoke about colours, but I think the biggest impression he's made on everyone is just how how hard he works and how hungry he is to be successful. I think he's come into the squad from day one and been one of the first guys in the nets and one of the last guys to leave, and I think he eats and breathes cricket, and he just loves it, and he's always batting, he's always trying to find ways to get better. It's really pleasing to see guys like that get rewarded, and when they do get the opportunity to go out there and doesn't look flustered at all, looks comfortable. And I think, from my point of view, you bowl from the nets and you see what he's got to offer, and you're pretty confident that when he's going to go out there and play, he's going to stand up and do really well. So, his work ethic's, it's really good, and I think it's for everyone else to see that is good as well, because you know that there's other guys putting in more that it drags you along with them. So. And he's got a great personality. He's always smiling. He's got great energy. So, I was rapt for him to get the opportunity this week, and I think it's going to be a long career for him, and he's going to do really well.
Yeah, it's a real baptism of fire against Jackson Bird and Peter Siddle on that wicket. Sam Elliott, the other one, he took 3 wickets on debut, and then he got 80, and here he is getting his 50, and then a cheeky text he got from his dad. Elliott pushes into the offside, and there's 50 on debut. Coming in at number 9 with Victoria in all sorts of trouble. It's not just the 50, it's the way he's got the 50. What do you think your dad's going to say to you today? 80 on the G.
Well, it's funny, he actually texted me straight away, and first thing he said was 17,900 more first-class runs to go. So that's the first thing he said.
So, Sam, 3 wickets. I think that was good enough, but then 80. It just shows he's got an inner confidence with his game on debut to do what he did, but he's got these fighting qualities as well.
Yeah, I was rapt for Sammy. It was awesome to see that. It's probably been a bit longer of a road for him than he hoped. He's been in the squad for a while, and he's played a bit of white ball cricket. So for him to get the opportunity in red ball cricket, I think, to come out and play on the MCG, he would have been looking forward to a lot and worked really hard for it. So, to see him come out, and I think first and foremost for him, he probably would have been most pleased with the way he bowled early on with a new ball, and I spoke to him yesterday, and he said that that was the message coming into the game, and that's how they wanted him to approach it, and his job was to come in and make an impact with the new ball, and he did that. So I think it's always pleasing when you can play your role, but the way he was able to fight with the bat, and I know like a lot of the bowlers, everyone does work hard, but to sort of see that work get rewarded with some runs on debuts, really pleasing as well, and gave the boys a fighting chance. So for him to be able to come in and believe in what he's been doing and trust it at that level, when he probably hasn't seen that sort of bowling before on that sort of wicket, to trust that and find a way to be successful it's credit to him.
Victoria hasn't had the results to this point in the season. That's all to see. But whether it's yourself, the two we've mentioned, Will Sutherland had a really good game, got 100 early in the year as well. Obviously what Ash Chandrasinghe did down in Tassie. There is a group of players, and I'm missing some as well. Fergus O'Neill, throw him in as well, and Gam McClure. There's a group of them. When they're coming in, you're all playing a part. You're not just making up the numbers. It seems like there's a real group of determined young cricketers. Yeah,
there is, and I think it gets thrown around a lot that we are a young squad, but I think if you ask each and everyone that comes into the game, they're not there to just be a young guy that makes up the numbers. Like, everyone wants to come in and make an impact as soon as they can. So guys are fighting really hard to try and make sure that they can come in and play their role. We haven't quite had the results we wanted as to yet, but I think there are some really positive signs, and hopefully sooner rather than later things can start clicking together for people, and we can start building, because I think once we do get some momentum and guys do keep gaining some confidence, we're going to be hard to beat.
So this week, back in action, last Shield game before the Big Bash break, yourself comes back in, Pete Hanscom comes back in, so obviously a bit of class added to the mix. The confidence levels are high enough that we can get going again against New South Wales and try and get that win before the break?
Yeah, definitely. I think sort of going into the break, us and New South Wales are sort of both in the same position. We're yet to win a game, so both sides are going to be really hungry to, I suppose, finish off the pre-BBL Shield rounds with a win. But I think everything's coming together really nicely, and you get Pete back in to lead the boys again and have that extra class, boost the top order really well, and I think that adds confidence. So hopefully this week we can play some really good 4-day cricket and not just have glimpses in and out that sort of has been happening in previous games, and we can put a really good block of work together over the 4 days and be really hard to beat.
And hopefully it'll spin.
Hopefully
it'll
nice.
Spin. Thanks very much for coming up and having a chat. It was great to see you in Australian colours last week. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come. But more importantly, let's get some points against New South Wales starting on Thursday.
Cheers, Whitey. Look forward to it.
Todd Murphy, right arm off spinner and lower order batsman as well for Victoria. We're going to take a break and we're going to come back, as I promised at the start, a really interesting chat with Jason Backer, player manager, former administrator here at Cricket Victoria, and also a handy all-rounder as well. That's next.